What do you wish they had taught you in sex ed? The only things we talked about were STDs and condoms. So, everything else. Just how to put my dick in a girl's vagina. I remember the night I lost my virginity. I had the most embarrassing time finding my way and had to be personally guided in twice, accidentally pulled out while thrusting mindlessly. On the contrary, she was looking really good and I wasn't using my brain, so the onus is on me. But come on, school board. You know what season it is, baby, you got a shoehorn or something? Weirdly enough, the Diary of Anne Frank included a lot about masturbation and self-exploration that was edited out, but was a hell of a lot better than sex ed. For example, here is an excerpt: "Until I was 11 or 12, I didn't realize there was a second set of labia on the inside, since you couldn't see them. What's even funnier is that I thought urine came out of the clitoris. When you're standing up, all you see from the front is hair. Between your legs there are two soft, cushion-y things, also covered with hair, which press together when you're standing, so you can't see what's inside. They separate when you sit down and they're very red and quite fleshy on the inside. In the upper part, between the outer labia, there's a fold of skin that, on second thought, looks like a kind of blister. That's the clitoris." Canadian here. Anything about being queer? I was in sex ed when I was 15 and closeted. We learned nothing about sex that wasn't heterosexual. I had family studies in grade 6 and not once did they mention queer people or queer families. It was incredibly bizarre to me that all the examples of families were hetero. My friends' parents, lesbians, weren't represented anywhere, and it was so weird to us. I didn't get that in my education either, but they added it to the curriculum by the time my younger sibling had the class, and they listed the following as the sexualities: gay, straight, homosexual, same-sex, transgender. The teacher would not take no for an answer. Greater than, and they listed the following as the sexualities: gay, straight, homosexual, same-sex, transgender. The teacher would not take no for an answer. I don't follow. What's the problem with teaching kids about that? How to file taxes? Honestly, I wish they had gone over the female reproductive system at all. I don't know if it was just my school, but they taught you nothing about the female system except that they could have children. Growing up, it was my own responsibility to teach myself about periods/pregnancy, and even the actual anatomy of the female genitalia. I'll bet you that 90% of male students taught in school still don't know that women don't pee out of their vagina. My ex-husband was 28 when we married and was dumbfounded I didn't pee out of my vagina. CI. You probably won't ever get the opportunity to use any of this knowledge in real life. Big sad. What to say after sex? Wanna play Mario Kart? Works every time. Easy trick to get people to play Mario Kart with you. I do it all the time. That fertility is different in men and women, and it's okay to get checked if you want to have kids. Heart-wrenching to see folks try only to find out after years they are infertile. On the opposite end of the spectrum, that it is fine to not want kids. I had a few people I went to high school with who had kids and have confided in me that if they could, they would go back in time and get an abortion/wear a condom, but didn't cause they thought kids were the next step. Also, that is okay to want kids and not be able to have kids, and what the options are if you fall into that category. To get a pump for the blow-up doll. I wish I was taught what asexuality is so I didn't have to think something was wrong with me. LGBTQ+, and different types of harassment, rape, assault, grope, you name it, and any other than STDs. How to give and receive the most pleasure. All they teach is how to do it safely, but a lot of the time nobody knows what to expect or how real sex works, since porn is all kinds of fucked up and not at all like normal sex. Nobody ever taught me about periods. I had to learn about them on my own in high school. Oof. That must have sucked. If it's any consolation from the owner of a penis, no one tells us about wet dreams. You just wake up sticky. I've never had a wet dream in my life. Maybe this is because I jack off every night before I sleep since I was 11. That sex is okay and normal and not punishable by death. Consent and how to deal with sexual assault. And especially that it's not your fault because you were dressed a certain way or led them on. Wish they'd have talked about how most people that are assaulted by someone they know. Would have really helped. As a guy, that the frenulum is not supposed to break like a hymen, stupid urban myth I believed until 18, how periods work, found out at 20, how the pill works, found out at 21, how a pregnancy test works, what is and what is not normal, for example testicle or breast checking, what the prostate is, found out last year, what things are supposed to smell like. Many of these might seem obvious but they are not. I received zero sex ed of any kind from family or school and had no female friends/girlfriends until 18. Some of these things never even occurred to me until I realized I know nothing about bodies, especially women bodies. Just going to add that the hymen doesn't break either. Another urban myth type fact that, pretty common no shame if you didn't know. Sex ed in this country will be completely useless until we decide to make people keep their religious ideology to themselves and in their churches and allow evidence-based teaching thrive. I had a fairly good sex ed teacher. Something I wish we'd been taught is that foreplay is actually a very integral part of sex and that it helps to loosen things up. Something I didn't want to know but was told anyway was that my class was the most sexually active class of the school. I don't really know how to phrase it but yeah, that's what we were told. That's creepy. Like, how the hell do they know? Unless the kids were being stupidly obvious about it, the school said we were getting a sex ed talk. The teacher explained stuff about periods instead while the guys practically got to watch a porno and got handed condoms. At our school it was always the gym teacher who did the guys' sex ed, which was always pretty weird. Like the guy who's making you run laps and supervising the locker room, suddenly is telling you about semen and pubes. Physical education includes health. I feel like boys and girls shouldn't be separated and taught different things. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to them being separated if it makes for a better and more comfortable learning environment for the students, but I hate this idea that boys only need to learn about boy stuff and girls only need to learn about girl stuff. It's honestly rubbish. If it's easier for boys to ask questions and have them answered when there are no girls around and vice versa, I'm okay with that, but they each need to learn about the other. I wish I knew more about cervical position and mucus when I was younger. I didn't understand why I had different leakage different times of the month and that the cervix can drop pretty low throughout the month. I legit thought I had a weird growth in there or that I was intersex and no one told me. I was too embarrassed to ask anyone. About different birth control. They only teach you about condoms. How to give and receive consent should be taught to men and women. How to set boundaries, say no, and how to handle/defend yourself in a situation in which you're being assaulted or coerced. And that it's okay to masturbate. Hashtag bold statement, italic statement. Basic anatomy. If someone told me in high school that women have prostates and that pee is stored in the balls, I would have believed them. That the first time having sex can often be awkward and bad. You can never be bad at the sex if you don't do the sex. Insert black man tapping forehead. Anything really. I had abstinence-only sex ed. A purity ring organization of some sort visited to make us swear abstinence, a virginity pledge, at an assembly. I was told that condoms aren't effective and that disease passes through them because viruses are small, so safe sex doesn't exist. We were also taught that IUDs are just monthly abortions. Like, we didn't just get insufficient sex education, we got sex miseducation. Should be fucking illegal. I've never encountered a country so back-asswards as the US with regard to education. They leave it up to the individual states to decide what the truth is, instead of science and logic. And I don't understand why it's always these religious nuts who see it as a threat to their beliefs. Like, if you really had faith and you believed 110% in the shit they shovel at church, then why are you afraid of science? Shouldn't your faith be strong enough to make it irrelevant? We also had a special class in high school just for all the pregnant teenagers, so they'd know what was going on and what to do when they had these babies. I'm not shaming them as individuals at all, but the stats are pretty clear about the effects of this education. So what I'm saying is this method really worked out super well for us. That no is allowed. How to have gay sex. Penis goes in butt, there you go. What if no penis? I wish they didn't split the girls and boys up and teach the boys how to put on a condom while we girls talked about sexual assault. Everyone should know how to use a condom, it's simple. And everyone should be included in the talk about sexual assault prevention, I can't stress that enough. I didn't even get taught how to use condoms in sex ed. We were taught how the penis works, had a few words on STDs, and that was it. LGBT sex ed.